Thank you. Councillor McNally.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Muir. Councillor Muir, can you hear me? Okay, I'll come back to Councillor Muir. Councillor Shanley.
Yes, present, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tyson.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. And Councillor Weeks.
Present.
Thank you. So Councillor Muir, I'm not sure if you can, I'll come back to him at the land. So I've got Ashley Hawkins as well.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. And then public speakers, Tara Gear.
Present.
Thank you. And Brent Cobsey.
Yes, here.
Thank you. Councillor Muir, can you just confirm that you can hear and we can hear you?
Yes, I'm present.
Thank you. Now just going to run through how the meeting will run this evening. The meeting is being streamed live on the council's YouTube channel and Zoom. If live stream fails, the meeting will adjourn. If the live stream cannot be restored within a reasonable period, then the remaining business will be considered at a time and date fixed by the chair. If the chair does not fix the date, the remaining business will be considered at the next ordinary meeting. If for any reason the meeting is not quorate, an officer will notify attendees by interjecting the meeting, and the meeting will adjourn immediately. Once the meeting is quorate, the meeting will resume. If connection cannot be restored within a reasonable period, then the remaining business will be considered at a time and date fixed by the chair. If the chair does not fix a date, the remaining business will be considered at the next ordinary meeting. If a remote member loses connection, the chair may adjourn the meeting for a short period to enable connection to be re-established. If the chair does not adjourn the meeting, the member will be deemed to have left the meeting at the point of failure and be deemed to have returned at the point of re-establishment. Only members present for the entirety of debate and consideration of an item are entitled to vote. If technology fails for a member of the public who attends to participate and is unable to do so, the chair may decide to adjourn or proceed to the next item of business to allow for connection to be re-established. If connection cannot be restored within a reasonable period, the chair can decide to conclude the remaining business. And please ensure your electronic devices are muted, and please activate the mute button on your tablet or computer when you're not speaking. Rules of debate: if a member wishes to speak, they should use the raise hand button under participants, and this will alert the host that you wish to speak. The host will inform the chair of the names of the speakers who should wait to be invited by the chair to address the committee. And please do not use the reactions hand symbol. When satisfied there's been sufficient debate, the chair will then request that we can go to the vote, and voting will be via the green tick for yes, red cross for no, and blue hand for abstain, which are all located in the participant section at the bottom of the screen. Please do not vote until it's been confirmed that all raised hands have been cleared. Details of how members voted will not be kept or minuted unless a recorded vote was requested or an individual request that the vote be recorded, and it will not be heard or seen on the audio and YouTube recordings of the meeting. And the committee member and scrutiny officer, which is me this evening, will clearly state the result of the vote, and the chair will then proceed to the next agenda item. In the event of a tied vote, the chair will have the casting vote. So that's the procedure. Are there any questions before we start the meeting? Okay, thank you. So the first order of business is to elect a chair for the Baldock District Committee. Can I ask for nominations for a chair? Councillor McNally.
Yes, I nominate Councillor Michael Weeks.
Okay, and do I have a seconder for that?
Yes, I'd like to second that one, please.
Okay, so that's resolved that Councillor Michael Weeks is the chair for the Baldock District Committee for the civic year 2020-2021. So Councillor Weeks, if you want to now...
Shouldn't we have a vote on it?
No, no votes required unless there's any other nominations. Are there any
Okay.
other nominations? No. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Weeks. You can now take over as chair of the committee. Sorry, Councillor Weeks, you're just muted. Just unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, Matthew. Can I first of all please thank Councillor Valentine Shanley for chairing the Baldock and District Area Committee in 2019 and 2020. Thank you very much, Val.
Thank you.
I think my next task is to ask for nominations for a vice chairman. So are there please any nominations for vice chairman for 2021? In that case, I nominate Councillor Jim McNally. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that one, thank you.
Thank you, Val. So, Councillor McNally, welcome to your new role as the Vice Chairman of the Baldock and District Area Committee for 2021. Can I also take time out to thank the officers that assisted us last year, in particular Ashley Hawkins. Don't know what we do without you, Ashley. Thank you very much. And I know you'll carry on helping us in the forthcoming year. Can also thank all members of the committee for their input last year. And I think we're a good committee. We've got quite a lot done. So thank you very much, guys. Notification of other business. Matthew, I do not have the script for the declaration sentence. That's the one relating to declaring an item and all that sort of thing. Either you can read it out and I'll agree it, or we can take it as read. Matthew?
Sure. So the members are reminded to make declarations of interest before an item, and a detailed reminder about this and speaking rights is set out under Chair's announcements on your agenda.
Sorry.
Is that?
Yeah.
So go ahead, Councillor Weeks.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we haven't got a lot on the agenda for this evening. We have next, I think, item 4, which is public participation. And we have a presentation by Tara Green and Brent Coxey in respect of the Baldock Beer Festival. And it's a grant seeking a grant to supply a storage container, I do believe. So Tara, if you're there, would you mind giving us a short presentation on what's behind your request for a grant, please?
I will do. So good evening, everyone. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Tara Gear. I'm the chair of the Independent Baldock Beer Festival Charitable Trust. And with me this evening is Brent Copsey, who is our treasurer. So the Beer Festival is run once a year as part of the overarching Baldock Festival. It's held at Brandles School. It's a community event. So it says it's a beer festival, but it's slightly more than that in that it is a community event for those people who haven't been before. We utilise Brandles School. We tend to have a lot of acts, so music acts, live acts over the weekends, and we normally start on a Friday evening, run all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Saturday and Sunday we cater for children as well, so we make sure that we've got free activities for children. So although it's a beer festival, it's we have lots of soft drinks. It's not just a beer festival. The Beer Festival's been running since 2007, and we set up as a charity in 2017. So we utilise the events, the Beer Festival as part of the May weekends, and we've also run 2 Oktoberfests for a weekend in October. The events themselves are money generating as part of the charity so that we can raise money for the benefit of residents in Baldock and surrounding villages. To date, it's just under, I'm sure Brent can correct me, but it's just under about £85,000. So we have given out grants ourselves to numerous organisations. So what we really encourage people. So whether it's sports, brownies, scouts, all of the local schools, all of the different sports groups. So, your Letchworth rugby, because we have lots of children from Baldock who attend that. We've done it to the football clubs, to the hockey clubs. On top of that, we have a hardship fund that we utilise, and all of the local heads are aware. And that's been utilised to send children who would, so year 6 children who would not normally be able to attend their year 6 residentials. We've managed to fund 3 children in the last, I think it's 3 years to go on that. So the heads are very aware. We've also utilised it for people to buy specialist equipment. So we know that someone who was made paraplegic because of an accident needed some specialist equipment, and he approached us via the hardship fund. But it's also utilised by scout groups, football groups, etc., so that they can sponsor children so that they don't have to go without. We've also bought things like football boots. So we raise the money and then we give it away. Now, normally we wouldn't be in this position. We would have had a beer festival, we would have raised a load of money, and we would be able to purchase what we need to purchase. So for those who don't know, Brandles have leased us part of their garage for the last about 10 years. We also have another lock-up unit, but the school would like to take the garage back and use it to do some work with the children to service and repair bikes, and so need the garage back. They are very happy. They are approaching county themselves about permission to put, because it's a temporary structure, a container onto a concrete plinth, which we will sort out so that we can store all of the equipment we need. So to run the beer festival, we need stillage, we need stages, and we have an awful lot of equipment. I'm sure Brent would be able to tell us what's in there, but it's a lot of sort of equipment that we need to set up the beer festival. Because we haven't been able to raise any money, we keep a surplus that we use each year to run the event. It's become a very impressive sum that we have to pay for before we've even run the beer festival, so we need to keep a surplus back. So we haven't really got any spare cash this year, and therefore we're coming to you as part of the grant application as to whether or not you would fund part of our container to store the equipment.
Thank you, Tara. Would you mind just hanging on and taking any questions that members may have?
If they're hard questions, I might pass it over to Brent.
I think I called you Tara Green earlier. It must
That's
be
absolutely fine. That's fine.
Must be the colour of your dress or something. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
So, the members, any questions, please?
Councillor McNally, Chair.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah, Tara, just what I'm seeking now is clarification, and in your presentation you were quite clear about up to now the beer festival has been self-funding and independent, and that you've never come to us to date asking for help with anything, and I just want to be clear and make absolutely certain, so that it's out there, that your request for this funding is more is it's in essence a cash flow issue, and that you would have had the funding to finance this yourselves, but for the fact that the beer festival this year has had to be cancelled because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you just confirm that that is the case?
I mean, that is the case, and it's not just, so we've had to cancel the beer festival and we've had to cancel the Oktoberfest. We now know that if we are to continue, we will have to, even if we run next year, we will have to put back an even greater reserve, because we were very lucky this year in that we knew that it was a possibility, and we held fast to the absolute last minute to wait for government guidance. So we didn't lose any money. We had paid a deposit, but we've been able, for the marquees, they've been able to be pushed to next year. So at this moment in time, we've not lost any money, but as you said, we haven't generated any income, and that's why we're coming to you.
And can I just ask a follow-on question on that basis, Chair?
Yes. Yes,
and thank you, Chair. So in essence, you're clear that the beer festival will continue even if social distancing continues long term, and we do know now that there are clear indications that the 1 metre thing will end very, very shortly. So in essence, that's the situation, even if we go to 1 metre social distancing, and that is in operation, let's say in May next year, you will be able to run the beer festival.
Absolutely. So Brent and I have already talked about this. We would also, be able to utilise. So we have enough space at Brandles, and you're aware that they've just gone to academisation. So we've talked to them about the, use of the upper field. I've spoken to Tim Litchfield at Knights Templar about extending that field so that we could utilise more space, so that we could have, more space to have social distancing. We've also talked about if there had to be the need for the track test and trace apps on people's phones, that we could do that via our security that we utilise on the doors. So, we are planning that we will run next year, but it might be slightly different in, we might have to go to North Hart SAG to talk about whether or not there's restrictions on numbers or what we do given the space.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else?
You have Councillor Muir.
Michael?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I've listened to everything. We all know what a marvellous job the Beer Festival and you do. I have no problem with £1,000 so that you can buy this container for all your storage. I have one question though. When you've had income in, we've never, in all the years of the Baldock Area Committee, suggested perhaps you can pay the £1,000 back so we can give it out to other worthy causes within Baldock once you've haven't got a cash flow problem. Is that feasible? I don't know whether I'm overstepping my mark on this.
I can see Brent nodding. Our view is, Michael, that any money that we raise, that we've got as an excess, it's for the good of the community. So absolutely, if we've raised some extra money, obviously we're a charity. I'd have to, but our constitution is very clear that it's for the benefit of people of Baldock and surrounding villages. So as long as Brent's nodding in agreement with me. Yeah.
Thank you. Just to interject there, we're talking here about a grant. A grant is not repayable, it's not a loan, and so far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't expect it to be repaid back later. Anyone else?
No, but thank you, Councillor Weeks. But if there is spare money, I'm sure if you guys were to approach us, if there was something, that would be something that we would be very open to.
I'm sure all of us would rather that money went into the community somewhere, and yes, it would go into the community if it was paid back to us, but we're not expecting it, so far as I'm concerned, anyway. Anyone else?
Yes, you have Councillor McNally, Chair.
Jim?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just one thing. Again, I'm seeking clarification, Tara. You mentioned that your group is for the benefit of Baldock and the surrounding villages. do you, and this is almost for an internal discussion that the councillors are likely to have. Where did the people who attend your beer festival and indeed the Oktoberfest come from?
So we know from the Oktoberfest that we have people coming in from London St Albans, but actually the beer festival we know just because of the Through Fair over the weekend. So we have a lot of people from the North Herts area, but people come from far afield as Cambridge, you know, yeah. St Albans, London. So it's become a bit of a, because we have a very good name with the camera guys, we get an awful lot of people who come because of the beer, but actually the people that come for the rest of the festival, it's more your North Herts. So they're coming in from Royston, they're coming in from Hitchin, Letchworth, you know, and in regards to monies dished out, we have done that as far afield. So all of the local schools, so that's Sandon, Ashwell, Weston, primary schools. In regards to local churches, that's Radwell, Clothall. We haven't been approached by Gravely Church. I was talking about that the other day because I went for a lovely walk and saw the Gravely Church. But we have been approached by the other churches who've needed money for roofs, etc. I'm trying to think. So yeah, all of the local schools, but as far as field, you know, if it was a Baldock child or someone living in one of the surrounding villages, whether that's Gravely, Weston, but if they attend, so we've been approached by children who go to different clubs in Hitchin, Letchworth, Royston, and we've supported them because they're Baldock children or Baldock adults actually, because we also there was a group, I don't know if people are aware of the Brave Hearts group, which is the mixed ability special needs rugby squad. So we've supported them, and I know that they come from all over North Herts as well.
Thank you very much, Tara. You've answered my question. Thank you.
That's no worries.
Okay, I'd just like to echo what Michael Muir said about the monies you raise, £85,000 over the past, is it 11 years, 12 years or something?
Yeah, 12 years.
12 years, that's a phenomenal sum, you know, very well done. And going back to this container, you are financing some of the cost yourselves anyway, aren't you? I think
yes.
It's going to cost about £3,000.
Yes,
something like that.
£3,000 for the container and about £1,500 for the groundworks because it needs to have a base.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we this is the first meeting of the fiscal year for this committee, and I think, Tara, you've hit us at a time where you are the only application here tonight. We have a long way to go this year, so we do tend to hang on to our money at the beginning. But as I say, you're the only ones here, and so far as I'm concerned, I think we could probably find your £1,000 somewhere by dividing it up in the various wards locally. As you said earlier, you attract people from Weston, from Sandon, from Ashwell, from Baldock East, from Baldock Town. Hopefully between us we can raise that money by all the different pots, but thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
None, Chair, none showing.
Silence denotes assent. Right, okay. Well, just to break with what we usually do, I'm going to discuss this application now before we go on. So, members, can we discuss the possibility of issuing a grant to Baldock Beer Festival of £1,000? Comments, please.
Councillor McNally, Chair.
Chair, I have. I agree. We've already had Councillor Muir and yourself say that you're happy with £1,000. I'm equally happy with £1,000. I would just ask Councillors Jarvis and Tyson if they would be, and of course Councillor Shanley, if they would be happy to share that honour with us.
Yeah. Steve, Tom? Hello?
Yes, I'd be happy to make a contribution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ashley, are you there?
Currently
Ashley?
muted. Currently muted, Ashley.
Hello, Chair. Yes, I'm here.
If we were to spread this between the wards that form this committee, any idea what the breakdown would be?
Yes, yes, Chair. This was easy because it's £1,000. It was quite easy to work out. The contribution from Baldock Town would be £520. Baldock East would be £160. Arbury would be £180, and Weston and Sandon would be £140. And that's based on the splits being 52% Baldock Town, 16 Baldock East, 18 for Arbury, and 14% for Weston and Sandon.
Okay, thank you. We didn't hear from Councillor Jarvis. Steve, is that okay with you?
Happy to make a contribution.
Sorry?
Said I was happy to make a contribution.
Okay, thank you, Steve. So, with that, we're all in
Councillor,
agreement.
sorry, Councillor Weeks, you just got Councillor Muir, did you, who's had his hand raised.
Okay. Michael?
I'm happy with all that. I was going to suggest we split it between all of us, and Jim McNally suggested that. So I'm happy with that way forward.
Okay, well, I think you moved £1,000 initially, Michael. So seconder would be, please.
I'm happy to second that, but we haven't heard from Councillor Shanley yet with regard to his contribution.
Contributions, Jim, I'm fine with the contribution as well, so that's it, very complete.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, so Tara, you have your £1,000. Ashley will be in touch with you shortly. Thank you.
Can I thank all of you for supporting us on this, and I look forward to seeing you all at the beer festival at some point.
Thank you.
Is that for free drink, Sarah? Is that free round?
I'm sure I could have a drink with you.
Thank you. Look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay,
Ashley, are we all right to go now?
Yes,
Yes,
you can leave. That's
You're free
yeah.
to go.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So item 6, ward matters and outside organisations. Ashley, members' reports, your report.
Yes, Chair. Just on the funding for Tara and the beer festival. If you look at 7.3 in the report, it gives you the breakdown of your 2019-20 carry forward and your 2020-21 base budget. So looking at those figures, we can award the £1,000 to the beer festival entirely from carry forwards. So we won't actually be touching the base budgets for this grant application.
Yeah, I have read the report, but I don't have it in front of me because I didn't print it off. But yeah, thank you. Anything else to report, Ashley?
Yeah, it's been a funny few months, what with the coronavirus pandemic, and it has had a big impact on the superb calendar of events that the town does put on. Since writing my report, we've also now heard that Baldock has been cancelled, and the Baldock 5K rat run has been cancelled as well for this year. And like the beer festival, it's not just that these are community events, it's the loss of income for charities as well. For the beer festival, they've raised 85k over 11 years. All the other events, Baldock will raise funds for local good causes. So it has been a dramatic and sad time for Baldock in terms of the events and what they've been doing. There is some pluses that I can report on. As you know, the community centre and the town hall are currently closed. We have been able to secure them 10,000 from a business grant, which will help ease the burden slightly. We've had 2 buildings from Baldock who applied for community facilities capital projects funding, and I can confirm that both the Baldock Community Centre and the Baldock Methodist Church were successful in their applications. So hopefully over the next upcoming months, there's going to be some improvements to both those facilities for the benefit of the people of Baldock. In terms of what I've been up to, a lot of my work now is because the community engagement officers, we've been mucking in with the various coronavirus support groups which have been set up, not just in Baldock and Royce, in my other area. We've managed to secure £2,000 for the Baldock v coronavirus cause through the COVID-19 support reserve pot at the council, and that money will be released in the upcoming weeks. I've also been busy with Operation Shield, which is contacting the most vulnerable people in Hertfordshire, and I'm also a community transport support driver as well currently. So it's been all changed for us as well in the community engagement team, but we're doing our utmost to look after all our areas and make sure that we all get through this safely.
Okay. Any questions of Ashley? Any members?
You have Councillor McNally, Chair.
Jim?
Yeah, it's not so much to question Ashley, but to compliment and to consolidate on his report. Ashley mentioned the Baldock Coronavirus Support Group that started in March, and essentially at the beginning it had three main aims: to provide food parcels for those people who were unable to afford them and were affected by the coronavirus pandemic, and to provide volunteers who would be able to go to shop for people who were shielding or self-isolating at that particular time, as well as to collect prescriptions for that group of vulnerable people. Since then, the group has expanded its operations. Those three areas are operating very efficiently and effectively at the moment. But we've also started a listening service which complements services such as the Samaritans. It's not a counselling service, but a service which actually provides people who are trained to listen. It's led by a Samaritan, and these people do good work in just listening to people who need a listening ear. And we don't provide advice for them, but we do refer them on to other organisations, appropriate organisations, should they so wish, and should it be appropriate. The support group has also been publishing almost on a weekly basis at first, but now it's a 2-weekly basis, a newsletter which is published online, and we've set up a young people's art initiative linking in with 1066 and Knights Templar School to provide some motivation for young people in Baldock during this particular pandemic. As far as the Baldock Events Forum is concerned, the Event Forum has set up a photographic competition called Baldock in Lockdown. It's open to any amateur photographer, except those people who are judging, and of course the directors of the forum. But it has 2 broad categories, and it's Baldock's community, which obviously focuses on the broader community of Baldock, and also Baldock households, which could focus on your own particular household and what you've been up to during the pandemic. There are prizes, and that's running until July, and the details are online on the Event Forum website. Ashley has mentioned that the events in Baldock have been hit badly? Yes, they've been hit very, very badly. We did hold the Baldock Beast back in February, and despite the atrocious weather, we had a very large turnout in entries, and got a lot of very, very good feedback from people who were from entries, and it was one of the largest entries that we've ever had, if not the largest. I'm not quite sure whether everybody turned up, but a lot of people did, and so that went ahead. Street Food Heroes should have been with us in April through to September. That was all up and ready and organised, but of course with the pandemic they've had to pull out, unfortunately, but we hope to welcome them back in Baldock at another time. The big lunch, which should have been at the beginning of June, that was cancelled. However, our cycle challenge, which was originally scheduled for the 5th of July, we are looking to postpone it until the 20th of September. We have to, we've spoken to Richard Harben and had conversations with him, who's the event director for us, and we're basically going to go through to make sure our first priorities are to make sure A, that we have appropriate insurance for the event, and B, we take mitigating factors in the light of social distancing and any other conditions that apply at the time. And we're going to take this idea to SAG, and once we get their approval with our mitigating factors, we hope that we'll be able to put it on. Christmas fair is still up, as you heard earlier, for the 5th of December, and Baldock will also be selecting and adorning the Christmas tree this year, as we have done the past couple of years. It's worth noting that the tree is bought out of a grant from North Herts District Council, which covers part of the cost of that. Coming to the market was held in stasis for a while when the lockdown was initiated. But what we've done is, as conditions have changed, we have adopted a phased reopening, and at the moment we have 5 stalls that are opening on Wednesdays in Baldock. They have quite a good footfall, but we're not anticipating getting any more stalls, because we want to make sure that we've got the capability to maintain safety and appropriate social distancing measures for everybody. What's interesting about the market is that the footfall for the Wednesday market has increased during lockdown, and the demographic has changed slightly, and that we think is because people have been working from home, and they've come out as appropriate, and they've seen that there's quite a good wet fish stall there. The guy brings his fish up from Lowestoft every week, and it is very, very good, and we are attracting a different kind of people to that Wednesday market. So hopefully once we can open it up fully, we'll get a lot more people in. That's all I have to say. And of course, I'd like to add my thanks to Ashley for all that he helps us with. Without Ashley, we would be lost an awful lot of the time. But my personal thanks to you, Ashley. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's a pity about some of the cancellations, but it's good about the market. So away we go.
Yeah.
Any questions of Councillor McNally or Ashley in respect of their presentations from members, please?
You've got Councillor Jarvis, Chair.
Steve?
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning that most of the villages have also got some sort of coronavirus support group set up. And some of them are fairly small scale, but nevertheless quite effective. And I think that it's an easier thing to do in small communities, but I think the villages have been very effective in making sure that the people who lived there who needed support got it. There's not been a lot of publicity for that, but people have just gone on and done it, particularly in the very small villages. They don't need external support in doing that, but nevertheless they put in place something that met people's needs. And that certainly happened in Sandon and Wallington and Weston, and I suspect all the others as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Steve. If I may come in and just say that the villages have been really, really good. I think it's really great that the people in North Herts have actually come together to help people, the most vulnerable people in these times. And I think it's an indication of the sense of community and openness and well-being that people have at this time towards each other. So well done, everybody.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Steve. Anyone else?
Councillor Tyson, Chair.
Tom?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up what Steve was saying about the response in the villages. And I know that Ash knows what happened in Ashwell. Literally within days of the lockdown, a group set up calling itself the Ashwell Volunteer Service and got the shops together, the pharmacy, the Ashwell stores, the farm shop down the road. And they all agreed to provide a delivery service to anyone who was shielding. And that was, just like an immediate and spontaneous response to the crisis, which was an absolutely fantastic achievement. Obviously, Ashwell lost one of their fundraising events, which is quite important in the Ashwell calendar, the Ashwell at Home event. I'm not sure what's going to happen in late August with the Ashwell show, whether there's any possibility at all of that going ahead, but that's quite a big deal in the charity fundraising calendar, locally. But yeah, as Steve was saying, the villages have been brilliant, and people have just got together to look after the people in their communities who've been shielding. So it's been great.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else?
You've just got Ashley, Chair.
Ashley?
Yeah, Chair, it was just two more events to make you aware of. We're still hoping to hold the fireworks at St Mary's School on the 8th of November. That's still in the pipeline. And the other one is the Baldock Chartered Street Fair. As you know, is the 2nd, 3rd and 4th of October. I'm in discussions with the abbots purely for the reason, if we don't hold the street fair in some capacity, then the charter will be lost forever. So I think it's in my reports that it only ever happened once in the history of the chartered fair during the war, when they couldn't bring the whole fair into Baldock. To maintain the charter, they have to have some sort of presence in the town, and that can simply be a coconut shy or a food kiosk. But I'm just liaising with the abbots so they're aware that they do have to have some sort of presence in the town to maintain the charter. And so I will again be going through all the paperwork, the TTRO paperwork requirements for highways, to make sure that if the fair can happen, the roads will be closed and the traffic management companies are being employed to manage those closures.
Okay. Anyone want to ask Ashley a question?
You have Councillor Muir, Chair.
Michael?
Currently muted, Councillor Muir. That's it.
Can I just say it wasn't a question of Ashley, it's just a report on the Baldock coronavirus group. Our chair lady is Vivian Reid, and I'm on the organising committee, and the support has been tremendous for Baldock. There's been over 140 volunteers to help in one way or another, whether it is on the telephone, picking up prescriptions or shopping, or even just chatting to people. And the town has been divided into various groups with a leader in each group, and everybody has worked so hard, so fantastic, and the amount of thanks that are being given to everybody has absolutely been tremendous. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I think to some extent that's been reflected nationally, hasn't it, in towns all across the country, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland. It's good that people come together in a time like this. But yeah, we've done well in Baldock, I agree. Thank you. Anything else?
I believe you've got Councillor Tyson. Did you want to say something?
Tom?
Yeah, I just got a question actually. It's possibly a little bit off piece, but I read recently in some statistics that Baldock had the highest number of deaths in all of North Hertfordshire so far from the coronavirus. Has anyone else seen that? With 20?
I heard that, yeah.
Do we know the reason?
But there was mention that we are a commuter town, and a lot of it was perhaps brought out of London. But having said that, so is Letchworth a commuter town, so is Hitchin.
Yeah, I'd heard the number of 20 in Baldock, but I think any attempt to determine why it happened at the moment would be very speculative. It could be that we just have an older demographic, more vulnerable people. Who knows? I don't know of any reliable analysis of those figures. It would be interesting to find out, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's worthwhile, as we say that, it's worthwhile saying that overall, Hertfordshire and North Herts in particular has one of the lowest death rates from COVID-19, as I recall, in the country. So we're starting from, I suppose, a bit like crime. You know, we're much higher than the national, much lower rather than the national rate. But we seem to be, as far as COVID-19, a little bit higher than the rest of North Herts. I couldn't honestly say why.
No. Okay, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Tom.
You've got Councillor Muir.
Michael.
So that I did check that out. Why it looks so Baldock's got the highest rate is they've taken Baldock as one town, whereas if you go to Letchworth, they've taken the wards differently. So if you add up all the wards in Letchworth, then the death rate is far more in Letchworth and Hitchin than Baldock. And that is the reason why we've come out on top, because we've been taken as one ward.
Right. I hear what you say. I'm not quite sure there, but it's a point. Thank you, Michael.
Well, I can say I've got that from a source that is reputable.
Okay.
Councillor Jarvis, Chair.
Steve?
Yeah, I don't think that's right. Yeah, it is true that Baldock is only one census area, but I think that regrettably the number of deaths per head is slightly higher in Baldock than it is in other bits of North Herts, and I don't know why that is. The numbers seem to vary fairly randomly, but I guess it may depend on, as someone said, on the age profile and the number of people living in care homes and things like that. But you know, if it was 3 or 4 people lower, then Baldock would probably be at the same level as Letchworth. So it's although it's clearly very important to the individuals, I'm not sure that the variation is statistically very significant, but the numbers for Baldock are per head of population are higher than they are for Letchworth or for Royston.
Thank you, Steve. Matthew, anyone else?
That's it. No one else, Chair.
Okay, I'd just like to do any other business and invite anyone with anything to raise to put their hand up, please.
No one's showing, Chair.
Okay, can I go back to Ivell Springs then? I don't think we should forget Ivell Springs. In February and March, it was really, really good to see the water back in the stream just above the springs themselves. And particularly my dog loved going in there, but it's as dry as a bone again now there. So I did ask Ashley to remind Affinity Water and the Italian gentleman that we still want to hear from him. So hopefully maybe the next meeting we can come back to it. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. And can I just raise town talk? If possible, I think we try and work out something for our next meeting as well. I don't know how it will work out, but are we all in agreement that we should give it a go?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Any other comments, Matthew?
None are showing, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Well, with that, it seems to be the end of the meeting. Thank you all for your attendance. A bit of a misnomer, but thank you anyway, and see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you, Virtual Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.